Hi everyone, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
I was fortunate to be here a couple years ago and I did share my experience through the steps. So this time I thought I'd share my experience through the traditions. And I grew up in an alcoholic home where there was a lot of violence, a lot of fear and walking on eggshells, and I really didn't come out with very good life skills. And then I came into Al-Anon in my late 30s. Well, in my early 30s the first time, and then I came back because I wasn't willing to admit powerlessness the first time. So, but I fell in love with the traditions while working with my sponsor, and I heard that the traditions help me play nice in the sandbox with others. And at my job, there is an actual sandbox where the little kids play, and the big kids don't like it because it's for babies. They'd rather play soccer or basketball. But one day, these two older boys were in the sandbox and they got into a physical fight over a purple shovel.
Of course.
And the principal was so angry because she's big on the big kids being good role models for the little kids. So she brings them into my office, and my job is to assess them, treat them, and then tell their parents. And she says, so she's talking to me, and she says, so when you call the parents, make sure you tell them they got into a fight over the purple shovel, the purple shovel. And I said, I'm thinking, okay. But I'm thinking, I'm not telling the parents that, but I understand what she was doing. She was trying to shame the boys into realizing how ridiculous it is that they got into a fight over a purple shovel. Now, their consequences were detention. Their parents got called, so I assume they got some consequences at home. They got physical pain from punching each other, and I thought of the consequences of alcoholism, broken families and jail and financial and legal problems and losing your job, physical and mental consequences. And so the traditions help me avoid having any purple shovel wars in my life. So tradition one, I want to share it's about common welfare and unity. And I lived alone for 20 years, from the age of 24 to 44. And I work a great program when I live alone and I'm in control of my whole space. 3 years into dating my now husband, we decided to live together. And I invited him to move into my house, thinking, we've been doing good for 3 years. But he came with his decor of dragons and martial arts decorative swords. And I was about to have a heart attack because I'm like, I don't want these things on my walls. And he also had a 7-year-old daughter who was spending part of the time with us. And when she was over, there were tons of toys around and the Disney Channel's on. And I'm like, oh, how do I have common welfare and unity? I have to allow them to be themselves in this shared space now. It's not all about me. And when we welcome a newcomer, it's like, oh yeah, welcome in, but you can't speak, and you got to sit in the corner and don't wear that shade of brown, So I got to remember, and luckily it went good. We're still together, and right now, if you walked into our bedroom, he has one wall and I have the other wall, and you will see the difference. But it doesn't bother me today because of this tradition. So, anyway, tradition 2 talks about a loving higher power is the authority expressed through the group conscience and trusted servants. That we have trusted servants, not governors. There's no president or king or queen of Al-Anon. And it allows, what I learned in this tradition is that I'm allowed to say my piece, like the minority voice can be heard. Because growing up, there was no, you don't get a voice, you don't get a say. And, and then if I knew that the room felt a certain way, I wouldn't ever say anything because I'm like, well, it's obviously going to go, the vote's going to go this way, so why say anything? And this tradition helps me be able to share my voice. And it may not go my way, the group conscience, but that's okay. I can accept that today. And I remember that there was a member who was very domineering to the point where it affected our groups as a whole. And myself and other members, we made 12-step calls because we couldn't handle this, my anger, my fear. And so I was calling my sponsor and people were calling me. And it got to a point where people then started to call their district reps and said, this is what's happening in our groups. And a particular district rep agreed to visit the meeting, but just really gave the suggestion of, why don't we have a topic about the 3 obstacles to success in Al-Anon? And let's talk about domination. And it really empowered the group. It really empowered several groups. And I thought, wow, what a wonderful teacher that this domineering personality was, because it helped groups find their voice. It helped me find my voice and set boundaries. And it really got people calling their sponsor a lot more. So, but, instead of just calling someone to come in and fix it, it's like, oh, we can learn about it and we have the power to make the decisions for our group. And that's so not like the alcoholic home. So, okay, and tradition 3 talks about membership with no other affiliation, and this is for our mutual aid. And when I was a newcomer, I heard a lot of outside affiliations in meetings, but I didn't know any better. I'm like, oh, maybe this is normal. I heard about meditation centers. I heard about there was a petition going around in a meeting to save a local park. There was other therapies and 12-step programs, and I didn't think anything of it. I did not know that was not, I didn't know about the traditions, much less the steps back then. But one time I was in a meeting, and the meeting's going on, and a member shares, and she says, I would like to just remind the group to please refrain from quoting outside literature. And so then I didn't hear the rest of the meeting. I'm like looking, okay, what did they say? Was it them? Oh, okay, what did she say? Was it them? I'm trying to remember what they shared. Who are they talking about? And then after the meeting, I heard other people kind of going up to that one person saying, thank you for speaking up. Thank you for asking the group to be mindful. And I still don't know who it is. And then until I was driving home, it was me. It was me. And the thing that was so crazy about it is it was so gentle that I missed it. Because in my alcoholic home, you killed mosquitoes with bazookas. You know, if I make a mistake, I'll know because I'll get the shit beat out of me. But this whole, I'd like to ask the group to be mindful. And so I really I had to laugh, but I also kind of got a clue that, oh, this is not appropriate. So yeah, that's my Tradition 3 story about keeping other affiliations out of Al-Anon. And I had a friend accuse me that it was a cult because of that. But the thing is I look at it like school, classes in high school. Like from 9 to 10, you have math. From 1 to 2, you have your sports class. 2 to 3 is your science class. So from 9 to 10, we are concentrating on math. We don't start bouncing basketballs in math class because that would get really chaotic and confusing. So it's like for the 1 hour that we're in a meeting, we keep the focus on Al-Anon to avoid that confusion. So yeah, I am not quoting outside literature anymore. But it gave me a great example about how you can be gentle. I don't have to kill the mosquito with a bazooka. Tradition 4 is about autonomy affecting AA and Al-Anon as a whole. And I think back to in my early 20s in college, I had no autonomy. I had no self. I did whatever you wanted me to do. And I had my first long-term boyfriend, and I gave my power over to him. He was so like worldly and smart, and so I just let him be the leader, and I let him make all the decisions, and I did whatever he wanted to do. And it was like I had no self. Like if someone said, hey, I love to kick puppies, I'd be like, me too, let's be together. But I did all these things that he wanted to do, and I really hated them, and I got resentful. But I felt like being a loyal girlfriend meant we have to be attached to the hip now. We're one. We are now one. And then because of this program and because of learning autonomy, because the steps have helped me find a self. And then when I met my now husband, our first conversation, we realized that we have nothing in common. We don't like any interests, and I didn't have to lie. Like, you don't like this, and I don't have to go along with what he does or what he likes just to people please and get his approval. So, and it's still that way today. We do not have common interests, but the reason why we feel we last is because we have common values, and we allow each other to have autonomy. Like I can go away on a Al-Anon weekend, and he has no interest in that, and he can go shoot arrows in the desert, which I'm like, have fun. I don't have to go out there in the desert anymore. So, but the important thing is we have our autonomy as long as we don't affect the relationship as a whole. So I can go on my weekends, but if I cheat on him, then that negatively affects the relationship as a whole. So it's nice to know these things. Yeah, I had to learn these things. I wouldn't have figured this out on my own. So yeah, I love that tradition. Tradition 5 is about singleness of purpose and helping friends and families of alcoholics by working the 12 steps ourselves, period. And I had a love-hate relationship with this one because working the 12 steps of AA ourselves doesn't feel like it's enough. But it doesn't say work the 12 steps ourselves and don't hide the keys, and don't pour out the booze, and don't cover for his boss, to his boss. And because my old singleness of purpose was to control the world and everyone in it. And that keeps me from focusing on myself and working the 12 steps of Al-Anon myself. And I try to understand and encourage my alcoholic loved ones by learning about this family disease. And once I learned it was a family disease, I had so much resentment towards my mom for not saving us from Dad, but I didn't know it was a family disease. I didn't know that she was affected too. So, one thing about this tradition, as a newcomer, I did go to a meeting, and this is when I was freshly new, crying at every meeting, in so much pain, and I poured my heart out in my whatever 4-minute share that you're left, poured my heart out. And then I heard, thank you for sharing, and the next person said, hi, my name is John Smith, or John S., and went on with his share. And I was so offended. I was so offended. I thought, I just poured my heart out, and here's this guy who's just gonna go next. But I did not know that what they did is the healthiest thing, is that I don't hijack the meeting. Everyone doesn't stop and try to fix me or try to, go confront my loved one for me, I thought these people were so cold-hearted because they weren't rallying around me. And that's the healthy thing to do, because our primary purpose is to help friends and families of alcoholics, and we don't do that by stopping and then just being hijacked by, the emotional one or whatever. So that is another thing I learned in the program. Tradition 6 helps me avoid diversions from my primary spiritual aim. As I said, I worked in the place that had a sandbox. But when the pandemic came, because of my role, I was then designated as the essential worker at my work community. And because of the pandemic, we had new policies to enforce, and I'm the one who had to enforce them, and my decisions became very unpopular. They weren't my decisions. They were in place that we follow because of the pandemic. And the reaction to my decisions by my coworkers was anger. Some tried to rally the troops, to gang up on me. A couple people went and made formal complaints at HR, and some people took it personal. And because of this amazing tradition, I was able to realize that my primary purpose is to protect the work community by keeping it safe through these protocols, not protecting other people's feelings. There is no way I would have done that before. I would be afraid that everyone's mad at me, they don't like me, especially the coworkers who are friends, So, but I was able to not get diverted by the outcome of their reactions. I could give them the dignity to be angry and let them choose their actions. One time, I had to enforce a policy. 2 people went to the front office and they're yelling at the front office staff about me, and I can hear them down the hall from my office. And the program works because I did not march down there and jade. I didn't have to justify, argue, defend, or explain. and let them yell. This program is a lifesaver. And guess what? Because I didn't march down there and defend myself, I avoided another purple shovel war. So. Tradition 7, being self-supporting financially and emotionally. First, it took me a long time to be fully self-supporting financially. And with the help of another member, she decided for me, let's do a 4th and 5th step on your money issues. That's it. Let's just do the deep dive 4th step into your money issues. And that took 2 years. Just that issue and just the 4th step. And then I worked with her 2 more years on just studying literature in regards to finances. And so I was able to become financially self-supporting after that. And at one time I was the AIS fundraising coordinator, and I was stepping down, and so there was call for people to then step in, and one person, a member who was interested in possibly stepping up for that position, said, "Can I meet with you and talk about it before I make a decision?" I said, "Sure." And we sat and we met, and she said, "This is my profession. I fundraise as a profession. I have all these connections with all these local companies in town. They would sponsor Al-Anon. They would provide all the they would pour money, and then and I had to kind of go, no, this tradition says no outside entities, and you would breach the anonymity of the Al-Anon members. And so, she was well-meaning, she was well-intentioned, she was motivated, she was gung-ho, but there's value in these traditions. And their traditions are so, they just save the program and everyone in it. I just think it's so important. So, self-supporting emotionally, I learned about not going to the hardware store for bread, because I went to outside people, places, and things to fill me up. Fill up that hole I have that empty hole inside of me. So I had to learn not to go to the hardware store for bread. And the steps helped me with going to a higher power of my own understanding. And I have heard a great twist on the hardware bread, because I love that saying. Don't go to the hardware store for bread. But someone shared, he says, yeah, don't go to the hardware store for bread, but the hardware store does sell bread makers. So I can buy one, bring it home, make my own bread, and the program is the recipe. And I just fell in love with that. So I stole it. Share it with you. So not having to go to people, places, and things to fill me up. What a concept. Tradition 8. I love this tradition 8 because it talks about special workers. And personally, the story about my dad's failing health before he died, it was very, very severe health issues that he was dealing with. And at one point, he was in the hospital again, and then he needed a caretaker. And he said, I only want my wife, my mom. That's the only person I want as the caretaker. I don't want no strangers, and I want to stay at home. Well, then my mom was like, oh, ugh, Well, my brother and my brother's partner kept pressuring my mom. You need to take care of Dad. You need to do what he wants. He wants to stay at home. You need to do it. And my mom said no, which is very unusual for my mom. She's not direct. Like if she really thinks, if she wants to say no, she'll tell you yes and then later like not go or, come up with some excuse. But she actually said no. And that was super telling to me because I was like, oh wow, a lightning bolt must have hit her for her to say no. But she did tell me the story of why she said no. She used to work as an interpreter before she was retired. And she would help Chinese citizens who couldn't speak English. She would go to the doctor's appointments. She would go to court, lawyers to help translate. Well, one of her clients was a couple who she had helped interpret. And the couple was in the same situation as my mom and dad. The husband had health issues, needed a full-time caretaker, and he only wanted his wife. He did not want to, and he wanted to be at home, and he refused to go to the nursing home, and the wife submitted and did it. And 2 years later, he was yelling for help in the house, calling for her, calling for her, calling for her. She was found dead somewhere else in the house. And my mom is convinced it's because of exhaustion. And she knew she couldn't do it. And therefore, he then moved into assisted living. And he got the appropriate level of care because it took a team of special workers. And this tradition lets me know what is my limit. I'm not an expert in everything. I do need to rely on special workers sometimes. And, I just am so glad. I was so proud of my mom because she knew her limit and she knew she couldn't do it. And that the pressure that my other family members were putting on her, she stood up and said no. So, that's my Tradition 8 story. Tradition 9 talks about ought never be organized. But it also talks about responsibility aiding in my growth and the responsibility aiding others in their growth. And what brought me to my knees before I came back to Al-Anon the second time was a very bad breakup. I thought it was the end of the world. I was suicidal. It was just it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, that's it. I can't live this way anymore. Failed relationship after failed relationship. I just can't live this way anymore. I have no hope. And it took me a long time to realize that I was radically organizing him and his life. And I thought it was a good thing. And he didn't have medical insurance, and I was determined to get him medical insurance. Do you know how important it is to get medical insurance? You need medical insurance. And if we're going to have a future together, I don't want to go down the drain if something happens and and I have medical insurance and then we're bankrupt or something. And so my motive was my own fear I'm worried about my future with him. And I just totally believe in medical insurance. And he was like, no, I don't want it. And I said, it's for your own good. You'll thank me later. I am well-meaning. I'm taking care of you. You'll appreciate it later. And then he breaks up with me. Gee, The thing is, it took me years in program to realize that was a character defect. I took away all his dignity, and I took control, and I didn't care. I had my agenda, and I was going to make it happen because it's the right thing to do, It's this playing God in other people's lives. And I didn't know until I got into program that is not healthy. Tradition 10 is my favorite tradition of all because it's the first one that I got in my brain. And I was a newcomer. I'm watching TV and there's a celebrity who is having these ranting meltdowns on TV, and he's an alcoholic, and he started to attack AA. And I'm yelling at the TV, shut up! You're gonna make people not want to go! You need to go! You need to get a sponsor! I'm yelling at the TV, and it was a media circus. And the media went to the headquarters of AA and they said, so what is your take on this celebrity saying all this stuff? And they said, we have no opinion. And I was like, oh, that's a tradition. I've heard that in an opening somewhere. But really what it was for me was the light bulb went off because I went, oh, these people practice what they preach. Because that wasn't the way it was in my alcoholic home. It was, they would say something and then do the opposite. So that's when I went, the light bulb just went on with Tradition 10. Because my whole thing is, if you don't defend yourself against this celebrity, your AA is going to go down in flames. But I don't know what they know, which is we have no opinion because our higher power, this celebrity cannot have the power to hurt us. He's not that powerful. He is not God. And I was just blown away. So, quick story about my parents and my family is my parents gave my brother power of attorney over their health and their finances. And I've been present where they have fought over their health and their finances. And because of this tradition, I can go, oh, that's an outside issue. I don't need to engage in controversy. They didn't make me power of attorney. And they didn't ask my opinion. Because if they did, I could tell them about double-headed management. So this is God doing for me what I can't do for myself. So I love Tradition 10. Tradition 11 talks about attraction rather than promotion. And when I was a newcomer, I promoted this program. I bought all the daily readers for my family members. And I'm like, I bet Al-Anon profits every time a newcomer comes in because they know they're going to buy all the stuff for their family members before they learn about Tradition 11. So gave them all as gifts, come back a year later. I'm at my brother's house. He's got 2 copies of Courage to Change. I go, why do you have 2 copies of Courage to Change? He goes, Mom gave me hers. So I'm like, promotion doesn't work. I had another one where a friend was so upset because his aunts were enabling their brother, who was the addict, and he came to me and said, "Hey, you're in Al-Anon, can you?" I go, "Yeah, here's some pamphlets, give them to your aunts." Well, the next time I visited his family, one family member took me aside and said, "Don't do that. Those sisters will never abandon their brother. So leave it alone." And I was like, oh, I was just trying to help. That whole thing again. So yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, tradition 12 talks about anonymity, principles above personalities. And over the years, newcomers have walked into the rooms and they see me and they recognize me. Like it could be from work or some other a class or something, but they'll walk in and they have that look of terror, like, "Oh no, she knows me." And I value the anonymity piece for sure, because it's been almost breached a few times. And so when that happens, I make sure to communicate with them one-on-one that, "Hey, your anonymity is safe with me." And there was even one Al-Anon member who was at my workplace that I would see day in, day out. And I was really worried, like, what if he tells his friends? That could be. So I did sit down with him privately and I said, I would ask you to please keep my anonymity safe and I will keep yours safe. And he said yes. So, principles above personalities. In my disease, I ran around, I just wanted male attention, and there was one man who was married and I was the mistress. Yeah, yes, it's true. It was true. And this is the thing. I judged other mistresses. They're bad people. But see, I'm doing it just to keep from, I'm just in this until I meet the real person. I was trying to avoid loneliness is what I was doing. So I stayed in it. And at one point he said, "I'm willing to leave my wife and kids for you." And I said, "No, don't do that, because then I would actually be one of those home wreckers." And they're terrible, so it was like, my personality is above principles. It's okay when I do it, but it's not okay when other people do it. And so my morals changed with the wind. And that's just like the disease of alcoholism. The rules change every day. And that is a very hard way to live. And I know that, like, if I had a best friend and they robbed a bank, that's fine. But if my neighbor, Joe Schmo down the street, robs the same bank, he should go to jail. And that is the insanity of personalities over principles. And just like the job that I did as the essential worker, I had to apply these policies to everyone. I couldn't just do it for the coworkers I like, or someone else who maybe bribes me or something like that, because it would be inappropriate, unprofessional, unethical, and it would make me a very untrustworthy person, because I'm changing the rules every day, just like the disease of alcoholism. So these traditions help me avoid purple shovel wars. And there are different kinds of purple shovel wars. There's purple shovel road rage. There's purple shovel HOA. HOAs. There's purple shovel civil wars. There's purple shovel world wars. And so I have to be obedient to the unenforceable, these traditions. And I will close with a very brief show and tell.
She's got purple shovels here.
Because when Sponsee was starting the traditions with me, I told her the sandbox story, and she bought me a pair of shovels, and she has a pair just like it, so we don't have to fight over any shovels. And this hangs in my office, and it says, "The 12 traditions help me play nice in the sandbox with you." And with that, I'll close. Thank you so much.